So guys, this is my airbrushing spray booth. I don't have any parts in here right now, but I will be very soon. This is kind of how it works. I don't think I talked about this in too much detail and really how airbrushing works, so that's what I'm doing right now. So, again, we have alligator clips on some balsa wood sticks, just poked into some foam. And this is like a foam that shoots up glitter. I think I already talked about this, so I have some saran wrap around it so it doesn't shoot up glitter. So the way this works, I have a mask up here, ventilator mask. You should always have one when working with an airbrush. It's not that bad to breathe in the fumes, but it can be, so you just always be careful. Here's the sword of the Mando finished. And so basically I put my parts on the alligator clips in a way that hopefully doesn't block too much paint, and if it does, I just go back with a hand brush. I have these little measuring cups here. I don't know if I have a blank one around, but this is how I combine my paint. Normally, so I work with Vallejo paints for modeling. For any big foam or like prop, I use just really cheap Craftsmart apple barrel paints because they're easier to use, they come in bigger quantities. But for action figures, you want to use nicer paints. These are water-based acrylics, Vallejo, super nice. So to paint, I'm either just do the color and some airbrush thinner. That way it has kind of a consistency of like almost like water, so it goes in the airbrush and flows out really well. Or I combine two paints. So for this paint, I used black and red because I needed like a dark crimson for the cape. So I added some red, added some black, mixed it up, not with a brush, but just with like the end of a, like something like this. That way, like an end of a brush or a balsa stick or something like that. That way the paint doesn't stick in the fibers of the brush that much when you're mixing it and you lose a lot of paint. So I do that and then I add thinner until it kind of gets a consistency like water. Then I take my airbrush, this is a G22 model. So I'll explain this in a second. I gotta do a deep clean of this as well today. So the way this works is you have a compressor right there and then it's plugged in. And you attach a little like nozzle hose type of thing to your airbrush. This is a G22 model, right? So you have your compressor here. I have a very small compressor. It does completely the job I need to. It's pretty silent, vibration absorbent with those things on the bottom. Then I can control, if I want to, the air pressure. So I have it on 20 right now. It's like a nice steady flow, really, just weak, and allows me to cover everything good and not have too much overspray. So I have it on 20, you have it on. The way it works is it just keeps the pressure at 20. That's why you start hearing it when you use it. Keep it at 20 and then you let go and it's fine. Now the way this model works, I believe this is a gravity airbrush, I could be wrong, but you hold down and it shoots out air, and then you pull back and it starts shooting out paint. Now there's nothing in there obviously right now, this needs to be cleaned too. But you pull down and then you slowly pull back, and that's how you get the paint, and you just spray like that. So that's how you use the airbrush. And again, you mix up the paint and you put it in here. There's a cap over there, you put in the cap, and then you can paint. And then to clean it, this is the most complicated part and the most aggravating part to me. So you need an airbrush cleaner. I have a big bottle of it right here. That's the most important thing, probably. But you always need a bucket. The reason why you need a bucket is because it's best to clean like this. I'm just using an old Play-Doh bucket. But what you do is you take your airbrush. I use an old like foam cup. I dump out whatever paint's left, if there's any paint left. Then I dunk it in the water. That can be clear water, that's just used. And you shoot, and it bubbles up, and it kind of is shooting out water and in and out and doing that. Then you backflow it, I believe that's what it's called, where you cover the cap right here and you shoot out. So air starts coming out this way, like out the tube here, and it starts pushing paint out instead of pulling it through. So that also helps clean it. And then eventually, obviously, you fill with water, you rinse it, you get it kind of clean in there, drop some airbrush cleaner in there, clean the inside as much as you can, dump it again, shoot it, and do the backflow and everything, and then it should be pretty good. Now, every now and then you want to do a full clean, and a full clean is when you take this airbrush apart. I'm not going to go over that, but if you have an airbrush, just look up the model and how to take it apart and how to clean it, and you should be able to find a video. And I had to do one clean during this whole process, like deep clean. And I'm going to be doing one more just so next time I use it, it's fully clean. So that's how you use it. It comes with a little stand. I have it under here, but normally you can put it on here. I just have it under here because it's easier to grab. And yeah, and sometimes I use gloves. Most of the time I don't because the spray is pretty controlled. When I use an alligator clip, I like to actually take the clip out of the foam and then spray it like this so I can turn it and get every side and then put it back instead of spraying it all together like this. because when you spray it all together, then you miss certain aspects of the right, left side, back side, top, bottom, whatever, where if you take it out of the foam and spray, it's a lot easier. Some people use corrugated cardboard also as a base. So again, I have other paints over here, different primers. This is a black primer here that I use. It doesn't need any thinning, it's already pretty thin. I use that for almost every piece besides one piece, which I use the white primer for. I have some detail brushes for when I was brushing the details on. And that's pretty much it. Again, the airbrushing is what I wanted to show. That's what I basically did for all of the paint on this figure, is I used an airbrush because it gets even lines. There's no brush strokes, which is like when you're brushing and then you let the paint dry, sometimes you see the lines where you brushed because the brush obviously has like the little thistles or whatever they're called that leave those marks. Where an airbrush, it's just a steady flow of paint, almost like spray painting, but on a much smaller scale. So you get a flat, even coat that covers everything. So I use this almost the whole time. It is an amazing tool. I would highly, highly suggest it. And then I went in with some details with, again, the Vallejo paints. And when you do details on a brush or just use a brush, you don't need to thin. You can thin a little bit, but mainly thinning is for using an airbrush. So there you guys go. There's a little tour of the workstation. Now back onto the project. So guys, while I had it apart after the build itself, which you guys haven't seen yet, I wanted to show you guys how an airbrush comes apart, or at least how my airbrush comes apart and how I clean it, just as a kind of tutorial in this video. So obviously we got a big bottle of airbrush cleaner here. I like to keep it pretty full, so, and I use a smaller one for like when I'm just regularly cleaning. But when I do a deep clean, I like to have the Q-tips go in the solution, so I need more of a space for that. So how the airbrush breaks down is everything screws apart. I wish I showed it to you guys how it screws apart, but I guess I did not. I'll show you how it screws together probably, but I mean, it's still a little messy. I couldn't get some of the paint scrapes in the middle of this out, but it's okay. So here's the needle. Here is like where the compressor tube goes to the airbrush. Here's just pieces with the spring and stuff. I don't know any of the technical terms. Here's the button. Where's the, oh, it's over here. Here's like where the pusher is for the button, and here's where the paint will come out of the needle. So I just finished cleaning everything. I'm gonna put it back together. Anyways, I use Q-tips, I dip it, and then I get in the cracks and crevices and clean it. So I'm gonna show you guys me putting it together. Okay guys, so here's me putting it together. First and foremost, I'm gonna put this piece on here. Screw this in. This is where the compressor meets the air. I'm gonna tighten it a little bit because sometimes it's not tight enough. So there we go. Just a little bit, just a little bit. I don't want to strip the kind of like screw mount over here. So next we are going to do the needle. No, the button first. Let's do the button right now. So this has a little like swingy thingy right here. There's a hole actually where the button will go. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna show some cleaning because I need to clean this. Where's the solution? Here we go. Got some wet solution. The outside of the airbrush is pretty filthy as well, so I'm gonna try to clean that right now. A lot of dried paint and stuff from, again, this project took a lot of time, effort, and made a mess. So that's why I'm cleaning the workshop today. That should be enough. Put this down for a second. Where's my paper towel? There we go. Just get all the paint off of there. Yeah, there we go. Get all that out of there. All that out of there. I use my fingernail sometimes for the pieces, the stubborn paint pieces that won't really come off unless they have a lot of like sharp work. So I use that sometimes. Okay. Is that just scratches or is that paint? I think that's good enough for now. Let's make sure real quick before we continue that the lid is looking pretty decent. Yeah, okay. So here we go. Continuing on, let's put the button in. So there's a little hole at the bottom here where we thread the button through. So just make sure that's facing down. Oh, also make sure that this little like indent right there is facing like the direction away to the front and back of the airbrush instead of the sides. That way the needle can go through. I'm trying to pour this through here. There we go. I think I got it. No, maybe not. I got it in there. Next, we're going to want to put the lever through. If it goes, yeah, it goes this way. Pour it here. There we go. I don't feel this bouncing up and down. Because it's not in. There goes that. Let's get that in there. I think some of that paint off. Okay, that should work for now. Okay, let's put the button in first and foremost. If it ever wants to go. There we go. There we go. Thinking it's in and it's not. Little compressed air should get that off. There we go. All right. Put this in. There we go. Now we got this in here like this. Good. Great, magical. Now we got the spring that's got to go on there. Twist a little bit. Okay. We got to get this in here. Uh-oh. No, that works. Okay. Yep, see we got the button mechanism working. Got the pull back working. Okay. So screw that on a little bit more. I'm just seeing the parts we have left. Okay, good. It's looking good. So when I looked up a video, this is how it told me to do it, but to dip the needle one last time before you like fully assemble it. So we're gonna do that in a second, but first I'm gonna put on the front after this. Okay. It feels tight enough. I don't know, it can go in a lot, so you gotta kind of be careful. There we go, perfect. That's not going anywhere. This will go on here, so this goes on first on the front. And this little piece goes on here. I messed this up. I think I did. Somehow. Oh no, I just had it backwards. Oops. Okay. Okay. We're getting close, as you can see. We're getting definitely close. We got the button working. It pulls back. You can see it pulls back on this. Okay, now we have the needle and the back to do. So we got to screw this piece on first. It goes this way, yep. Not all the way tight, because the needle's got to slip in. That's what fastens the needle. Dip this one last time in there, and we poured it through all the holes. Okay, slowly. There we go. I think it's all the way through. Yep, it's all the way through. I don't know if you can see, but the needle came all the way through. You can see the needle in there. It's all the way through. Make sure it's still, yep, pulls back. Looks good. Okay, tighten that. It's tight enough. Screw on the back. Screw on the top. And there you go. You're fully unassembled and assembled airbrush. Let's plug in. Let's twist on the tube full of air when we turn on the compressor and make sure it's pumping out some good old-fashioned air. All right, we'll airbrush onto this paper towel. Just hold it. Yep. Got a clean flow of air. Don't hear any errors, and the deep clean is complete. Looks pretty good, I think. And where it goes is this little case I have that came with it for the model G22. So we turn off the compressor, we unplug it, some air will leak out. So guys, it cut off for a second, but just to conclude, basically I screwed on the air. In case you guys didn't see that, I made sure it was running smoothly. I unscrewed the air, turned off the compressor, then I took out my case, which is for the G22, and I just put it in it, and it's done. And this will go back in the drawer until I use it again. The airbrusher and hose, I'll undo the hose real quick. These will go in the same drawer, not the compressor, but the hose will go in the same drawer, and the compressor will just go into my desk until I use it again. Very easy setup, breakdown, very easy to use, not hard to clean. I'm so happy I have an airbrush because it adds so much to my abilities in this hobby. It's a ton of fun, it's very useful, and it works really well. I can use on dioramas, props, action figures, if you have the money for it and can get this compressor, by the way, not expensive at all. Very, 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 very lightweight, very cheap, I think, and super small, condensed, really easy to fit in any space, portable, very, very nice. So if you have the money, I would highly suggest buying an airbrush because they will save your life when painting. They are so, so, so nice. Thank you guys for watching. Never mind, on to the rest of the video.